Hi there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. My name is Josh Mansfield, and I am a teacher here at the Demon, and joining me are the hosts, again, of Crushing 1L, Abhi and Aaminah. Welcome both. I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having us, Josh.
Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the ways in which the LSAT has impacted your abilities or kind of process as a 1L. I know I feel like I'm always talking about this, and so I'm excited to have more 1Ls who I hopefully are going to feel the same way as me. But I guess we're going to see. So the big point here, I had an opportunity. I was teaching an RC class recently, talking with a student, and they were asking about how do they keep all the facts of an RC passage straight. And I kind of chuckled because at this point I wrote, we were reading an RC passage that was about specific performance, and I was like, man, this passage was a breeze compared to the cases that we were reading about specific performance. So to me, those tips that we talk about and how to keep those details straight, in my mind, has directly paid off in law school. But I'm curious to hear ways that you have felt that the LSAT prepared you to be a better 1L, especially when approached the Demon way. Aaminah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny. So at the beginning of the year, we have our orientation is called Law 101, and then we have that professor who gives us best practices in law school. And I remember very specifically that he was telling us this is how you read for law school. That's very different from how you're reading for anything else, specifically the LSAT, blah blah blah. And I kid you not, it was literally argue with the judge in the passage. Read the passage thoroughly the first time, stop when you don't understand, and make sure that you understand before you continue on, things like that, don't over highlight. And I was like, wow, you think this is different from LSAT reading? This is LSAT reading bar for bar. I mean, at least how we teach it.
That's how we do it. Yeah, exactly.
That's how we do it. So
yeah,
I was that it was just almost one for one in terms of how he was saying that students read cases and how we teach students to engage with LSAT passages.
Yeah, LSAT, law school reading is different than LSAT reading if you did LSAT reading wrong. That's the only way it's different.
or you do law school reading wrong.
Or you're doing law school reading wrong.
It's funny. Yeah, go ahead, Abhi. What were you going to say?
And then it might actually be the same as how you did LSAT reading, and you might just be doing both wrong, which is a disaster.
It's so funny. I started, so first couple weeks, I sit down and I'm like, okay, I had my row of highlighters. I'm like, yeah, I got to highlight all the, some people talk about highlighting different parts, your facts one color and you're holding another. And I was doing it. And then I'd go to class and I was I had the facts down pat. I was so good there. But then they, our professor would be like, well, what does that mean for implications for the next case? And I was like, I didn't have an answer. So I just put my highlighters away, quit doing them, and just started reading like I read for the LSAT. I remember I was reading a con law case about mootness the other day. And it, the judge was like, we have exceptions. Or the book was we talked about the case about what mootness means. And then it was there are 3 exceptions to the mootness doctrine for standing. And I stopped and I was like, I wonder what those would be. Let me think. And I critically was predicted what I thought those exceptions would be and why they might be there. I only got 2 out of the 3 of them, but boy, reading those cases felt like a breeze. And that class was one of the easiest ones I'd had because I was reading like I do for the LSAT.
Yeah. Yep.
Josh, this is so silly because it seems so obvious to some of us. I think the LSAT, and this is maybe a hot take, the LSAT is the perfect admissions test for law school. It is the perfect admissions test for law school. So and this is no credit to LSAC. I think they stumbled upon this by accident. But it's perfect. It's RC is reading cases.
Yes.
LR is interpreting statutes. That is literally law school.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So yeah, if you're feeling like the LSAT is hellish, just you wait. It will get worse. It will get worse.
Yeah, or it gets easier. I think if you take the time right now to understand that reading 15 to 17 sentences about a particular topic is a lot like reading a case for class. Mm-hmm. And if you understand and build the skills right now to understand that interpreting 3 rules and how they interact is a lot like how you read a statute for criminal law or civil procedure, then you are actually going to build the skills right now, and there's no grade on the line. Yeah. And there's no semester building up work, right? It's actually at your leisure. You can take the LSAT multiple times. You can take it at your leisure. Take it only when you're ready. If you build the skills now, you are doing yourself such a huge favor down the line when you eventually get to law school.
So true. I mean, it's really a question of starting on the 20-yard line or starting on the 50. Like,
Exactly.
you get to pick. You've got to make it to the end zone one way or the other. You get to pick how far along you want to start, depending on how long you invest in the LSAT and doing it the right way. I remember another thing that I hear students say often is like, oh, I just don't care about this type of passage. What's the craziest subject material of a case that you have read in law school thus far? I know exactly which one comes to my mind, but I'm curious what your answers are.
I mean, for the first case we read for criminal law was the case where two people eat a third person on a boat, like lost at sea on a boat. And it's like, it's not that I don't care. Like, that's, I guess, on its face, interesting, but it's also horrifying and awful, and nobody wants to think about that. Or like the chicken case comes to mind. Like,
That's the one.
That's what I was going to say.
What's the difference between a broiler chicken and a stewed chicken? I don't freaking know, dude. But I mean, it's an important case in the Second Circuit.
Yes.
It's a hugely important case. And also, like, in contracts, we read so many cases about, like, making offers on, like, seeds. Or, like, you know, like, farmers making offers on seeds or, like, plots of land. Like, I don't... Respectfully, I do not care. But guess what? I have to care. I have to care.
Did they know that the cow was barren when they purchased it? Yeah. Like... Prepare to read so many railroad cases and torts.
So many railroad cases.
A lot of people were just getting hit by trains in the 1800s.
Like,
for better
all the
or for
time.
worse.
A shocking amount.
Nothing has done more for the progression of tort law than trains. Like, the tort law as we know it is a function of the railroads. If you don't enjoy railroads, like, buckle up, because you're about to learn so much about railroads.
Yeah, and I think to maybe be more responsive to your question, Josh, because I kind of like was just being a jackass about it. But like, I think to be more responsive, it doesn't matter. The facts of the case don't matter. What's interesting, and hopefully what you do find interesting, is exactly what you just said. How did this body of law develop? How many people had to get hit by trains for us to understand that like negligence is a reasonable person standard and not just like prima facie negligence? If you get hit by a train, it's your own fault. No, that's an awful standard. And that would be bad. If we lived in a world where it's your fault if you get hit by somebody else, that's a bad world to live in. And understanding why the American body of law or the Anglo-American body of law has advanced to arrive at that decision. Hopefully, if you're in law school, that is an interesting question and an interesting topic to discuss. You might not care about the facts necessarily, but the facts as applied to the real world and as applied to kind of legal analysis, hopefully you do find that interesting. And I tell people this all the time, and I'm sure you guys do when you talk to students. If it's really such a drag for you to read about this stuff, what are we doing here, dude? You're going to spend 3 years of your life and maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars, although we tell you not to do that. But what are we doing? Like, you don't have to go do that. Like, you go be I don't know, what's any other job? Like, any other job, you know?
Yeah.
It's so true. Okay, what are other ways that you felt like the LSAT prepared you for law school?
I think like a big one that is useful in terms of studying for the LSAT is actually like building a schedule and understanding how you study. I mean, especially for me, as somebody who took time off after school. I mean, all of us did actually.
Yeah.
But like for those of us who took time off after school, like it's been so long since I've been in an academic setting. Like the most approximation I had to like, how do I study and like, how can I sit for an hour or 2 hours, whatever, like, and learn material was working on LSAT questions and working through that. So like that I think is another big thing, like building your study habits is really important.
Yeah, to build off that, I think this is a twin complaint amongst the students that I've taught. One is I don't find the passage interesting, which we've kind of already talked about, but almost a twin complaint with that is I can't focus on the passage. If your attention span is shot because of apps on your phone, this is a great thing to realize now instead of your first semester. Figure out how to focus. The LSAT will teach you how to focus for at least 2 to 3 hours at a time eventually, but it is a process. You have to get the reins back on your attention span. And part of that is like what Aaminah just said, kind of finding yourself again in an academic situation. A lot of people are getting to law school with professional experience. Studying for the LSAT and being in law school are different from being at a 9-to-5 job in pretty substantial ways. They're similar in some respects, but they're different in some substantial respects. Finding your inner student again, finding your inner focus again. These are journeys that I would really, really encourage going on as you're an LSAT student, rather than trying to figure all that out while you're also learning law school. That would be a disaster.
Well,
And
yeah, go ahead,
so,
Aaminah. No, you're
just to
fine.
throw in, one way to practice working on your attention span, book club plug, come join my book club. Reading is a great way to build your attention span.
How does someone join the book club?
Yeah, if you join our Discord, which I think there's like an icon on the lsatdemon dashboard that you can go and find and join the Discord. It's on there. It's free. I host it every month. It's usually the last Sunday of the month. This month we're reading Jailhouse Lawyer, which is straight off of my crim syllabus, so you can get like a little insight into what we're doing in law school. Like I'm just for the people, you guys. Like, come join the book club.
Yeah. And that's available to all Demon students. All you need is a Demon free account to join the Discord. So you do, like, doesn't matter what plan you have, Demon free works. You can go join the Discord, join the book club. Great group. I want to add on on Abhi's point. Abhi was talking about going from professional to law student. I actually think that this is an important skill for undergraduates to law school as well, because there isn't such a thing as busy work in law school. Very, very little. I mean, hopefully not. In my experience, that my classes do not have busy work. And so what happens there is an undergraduate, like I used to be able to do 80% of my work in front of like a sports game of some sort, right? Like football game, hockey game, like no problems, because most of it wasn't too substantial. That's no such thing. There's no like check the boxes along the way. I had one of the classes that was like your traditional law school class. 100% of your grade was the final. And that professor did not care if you did the readings. He did not care whether you were in class. I think he like had it on his syllabus, but like he didn't ask you to email him if you were going to miss it. There were no quizzes. There were no writing assignments. It was all of your reading, self-paced, because you were going to have a final that was worth 100% of your grade at the end. And so you don't get to just mark a box, like check the box because you did your reading. Are you actually learning? Are you teaching yourself while you're doing that reading? That's something I think is very much LSAT as well. If you're going through the motions of drilling, if you're just doing LR while you're also watching the football game or the Olympics, like you're probably not learning the LSAT. You're just missing some questions, getting some questions right. And that's very different than what you're going to have to do in law school.
Yeah, it's a novel opportunity to hold yourself to a higher standard.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is for completion. Nobody gives a shit how well you do on the LSAT. Nobody's looking over your shoulder being like, "Oh, you missed that question, shame." No, right. This is introspection. This is self-mandated growth, or like self-controlled growth. You get to be a grown-up, and you get to control this process from start to finish. And this is very different from an undergraduate experience in that regard. I also think it's different from a professional experience in that regard too. You don't have an LSAT boss. We're not your LSAT bosses. We're your LSAT like mentors and coaches and peers, but I'm not going to tell you what to do.
We're your LSAT friends.
Yeah, we're your LSAT friends, right? We're not your LSAT boss. You don't have an LSAT boss. You have to be your own LSAT boss. So this is a very unique experience. And again, I think it's an opportunity to hold yourself to a higher professional standard. And this is going to be the standard that you hold yourself to as a law student and as an attorney. I like to say, and I said this to my soldiers all the time in the Army, but how you do one thing is how you do everything. So don't do this poorly, because that's setting up a precedent for you doing law school poorly, which is even worse, setting up a precedent for you to be doing attorney things poorly. And nobody gives a shit how well you do on the LSAT. Nobody gives a shit how well you do in law school. If somebody ends up in jail because you're a shitty attorney, that is the big deal. That is the big thing. So I don't know. I'm not to be cheesy about it, but like this is important stuff. Like this, setting the precedent.
The last thing that comes to my mind, and then I'll see if you have anything else. If you have anything else that comes to your mind as well, we'd love to hear it. But the last thing that comes to my mind is that the LSAT has become a much more like, it's a recruiting tool now for jobs as well. I know you both have been going through recruiting as well. Did you have job applications for law firms that asked you for your LSAT score?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Aaminah? You didn't. Okay.
God, ew.
Yeah.
If I see that, I'm closing the application.
That is an opportunity.
And maybe that tells you what kind of like law firms I applied to, but hey, like I will close the application. I really wish you would. I really wish you would. Like, please. Please. But I mean, I guess it happens. Yeah.
It does. So there are firms now, because hiring, and I think you talked about this last week on Crushing 1L, about how the hiring timeline has accelerated to the point that like they are recruiting you before you even have a first semester of grades. They're using your undergraduate GPA and LSAT score as a proxy.
Yeah, because
right
what
now.
else do they have? They have 3 grades from your first semester, and that's not really super indicative. And so they have 4 years from your college, which again isn't super indicative. So they're just looking for more stats, and an LSAT score is a pretty good indicator. It correlates pretty well with bar passage. It correlates pretty well with future attorney, income. So
yeah,
why not?
Second question: did you either of you have to do the competency assessment?
Yes. So I had a variety. I had like 2 or 3. They contracted.
You had a couple. Okay.
Yeah. Well, different firms contracted out to different firms. So there's some like AI based, assessment, skills assessment, and there's some like competence assessments. They're kind of just mini LSAT questions.
The LR one? Did you get that was basically just like you had 5 minutes to do LR questions?
Yeah, and it's just do as many as you can. There's like 50 LR questions. You're not going to get through all of them, but you just do as many as you can. And if you got good at the LSAT, too easy.
And it was timed. It was a 5-minute timer. Do as many conditional LSAT questions as you could. Like I think that there are a lot of like makes you a better student, better law student kind of options. Law firms are using LSAT metrics and skills to directly test whether or not they want to hire you. So if you needed another incentive about how being good at the LSAT is going to help you in law school, there's another example. Is there anything else that comes to your two mind that I have not covered yet?
Maybe I just posit this as more of a philosophical and rhetorical question, but like, why would you not want to do well in the LSAT? Like, what benefit is there, like, to be like the Rocky underdog story of like, I did super poorly on this admissions test, but I still carved out a great law school career and a great legal career. Like, congrats, I guess. Kind of speaks to our other episode that we did about like making your life easier when it comes to employment opportunities. Why not just make your life easier when it comes to law school and employment? Like, why wouldn't you want to do well in the LSAT?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, okay, to caveat that a bit, because I feel like that's a little bit cavalier. Like, I'm sure many people want to do well on the LSAT and feel that it's like out of reach for them. I mean, especially like speaking for students of color, like not that students, I would never ever imply students of color are less capable of doing well. But there's
Aaminah. Wow,
I know.
Aaminah.
I'm sorry. I just in Black History Month. I'm sorry, y'all, but no, but no,
and
but
on
like
Valentine's
seriously,
Day weekend too.
I'm like serious about this because like I remember like when I was like in my admissions era of law school and I would talk to people about the score I got on the LSAT, they'd be like, oh wow, like that's really good for like legit, like that's really good for a Black student. I was like, what do you mean? So
that's a crazy thing to say to a human being.
Listen, so I say that to say like, yes, like people want to do well on the LSAT. It feels difficult. I constantly, always, and of course we here at lsatdemon always encourage you to fight for your understanding and to fight for that score because it matters. Like it matters down the line. So it's like, yeah, it's hard. So is law school. Like this is what this whole episode has been about. Like the skills that you're building in that endurance and the discipline and like pushing yourself to do something even though it's really difficult, like it matters and it will translate in law school. Like it's really significant. So like get after it.
100%. And just to echo, and this is not the first nor the last time I've been accused of being cavalier, but to echo Aaminah's comment, I wholeheartedly agree. And something important to remember is doing well in the LSAT is a little bit different for every student. I'm not mandating that you get a certain score. I just don't want you to sell yourself short. And I guess, mostly just rhetorically asking, like, why would you not do the best you can do? And that's, it's kind of just a question to hopefully just take home. If somebody's listening to this and they're like, I'm thinking about giving up, I guess my question would be, why? Why give up? Keep working.
And here's the attitude shift that I found was the most important for me, and I see really changes students. I don't want you to think of the LSAT as a burden or a bar that you have to clear in order to start your legal career. Your legal career started the day that you decided you wanted to go to law school, and everything that you do up until then is a prep for that. That includes LSAT studying, that includes networking, that includes research into the kind of law that you want to do. All of that is a meaningful part of your legal career. You are not, like, because you decide to wait a year for law school does not mean that your legal career has not already started. You're not a lawyer yet, But you are doing meaningful work in preparing yourself to become a lawyer. And if you approach the LSAT the right way, which is, I want to start on the 50, I don't want to start back on my own 20, right? That's the key, right? That really is where. So think of these as yards that you are earning as a member of the legal profession, and you can crush 0L, and then Abhi and Aaminah will help you crush 1L. Thank you both so much for coming. If you have any questions that you'd like to direct to the Crushing 1L program, a little bit more about kind of in the law school world, you can email podcast@crushing1l.com. That airs on Thursdays in all the places that you can get to Demon Daily. If you are interested in emailing or have an LSAT prep question, you can email daily@lsatdemon.com. Thanks so much for both of you for joining. It was glad to have you here.